Welcome back once again to the wheelie-popping Trike from outer space. What does that mean? What it means is a three-wheeled Volkswagen Trike, Beetle parts, motorcycle parts, mated to a homemade UFO 10-foot frame that revolves, tilts up, front, back, side to side. Why? Why, you ask? Because the world needs this. I'm doing a public service. Follow along on the journey. I rolled some rings. I've got a 40-inch Lazy Susan bearing. I've got an electric motor. I've got a satellite dish. What could possibly go wrong? Let's find out. All right, quick recap. When we last left off, we built this hinge mechanism. What it does is it tilts up one way. I'm just gonna lock it against the seat for conversation. It tilts up one way and then it tilts another way. So that's what we've accomplished. It'll be actuated probably on hydraulics. Someone mentioned 12-volt electric linear actuators, maybe that remains to be seen. That stuff costs money, trying to keep the budget tight. So I rolled up two things. This is 1/4 inch thick by 2 inch wide flat bar, approximately the same diameter as the bearing. I have a 36-inch clear plastic dome, 36-inch diameter. So we're working on the outside diameter of the bearing for now, because the bubble's gonna sit inside all that. Then I took 1-inch square tube, 16 gauge wall, and I rolled another ring, because pretty much we want this, there's gonna be a lot of stress on the mounting point. So we wanna support the bearing because it's reasonably fragile. We don't want any distortion, because in the end, that will crack the plastic dome if it twists. So a wide base with a tall ring. We'll have this to land the bearing on, and then that's just gonna offer extra support. So 3 inches with all this. Is it gonna twist? I don't know. We're gonna test it and find out probably today, if not tomorrow. Let's get started with some cutting and some considering. Well, I just said some cutting and considering, but as the famous Willy Wonka said, strike, flip that, reverse it. Let's consider then cut. I centered this up already, so there's a bunch of scratch marks from the grinder, so I know just where to put this. Now, that's the thing. The center of this is going to be cut out because you're going to sit in there with the plastic bubble surrounding you. So we're going to have to create a new structure to hold all these in place. So the bearing's going to go below this. Everything we're building goes below this. But just for reference, I wanted to set it up here and consider, then bring it to the table and weld it, assemble it, and then cut out the center. Because, the whole thing is going to be held by that one rearward hinge mechanism, so it's gonna have to be strong. This isn't really heavy, but it's gonna get sheathed, lights, who knows what else. Fur interior, anything could happen. All right, so this is what we have. Approximately 39 inches is our outside of the ring that we need. So let's cut this flat bar ring first. Should be pretty straight up. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. If it does have a little bit of an egg shape, I can get it close. It's not like, doesn't have to be like true like a wheel, because this bearing does that for us. We just need something to bolt it to. All right, so the way this went through the ring roller was pretty straightforward, but looking at it, I think this is the nicer of the ends. Let's just set this up to cut like this. I like to find the end of the, so when the tool works, there's always this extra piece I calculated. So I had these cut at 12 feet. So the machine would have a little extra. You can see where the wheel starts, and then that's where the leverage is. So got to cut a square where the machine stopped wheeling. And then we'll close it up, find our diameter, slice and weld. All right, you might be asking why I chose 2" by 1/4 inch. The only parameters I had was what that ring roller accommodates, and it only goes to 2 inches wide. So to roll a 2" round tube, or to roll a 2" square tube into a round shape is quite a feat. It takes some real muscle power, so that's how I ended up with the flat stock and the 1" light gauge. 1" to mount, ends up being 3 inches stacked. Science. So you can say a number, but you could also just mock it up. Now what I'm doing is there's some bolts, there's some bolt flanges on this, and I think this is gonna work out just perfect. I'm gonna stay just inside of those. Yeah, ideal, groovy. So in this one, I'm just gonna mark where the ring comes together. We got that good. Just gonna use the remaining little curved piece. I'm gonna jig it up. Actually, I'm gonna cut this off, then I'm gonna jig this little curve for a brace and weld it. Yeah, so where this joins, it'll have a double thickness, which, in short, be very strong. All right, so we got the smaller welder queued up. Let's go up to 18 volts. We'll see what the wire speed does. Not as fluent with the settings on this one as with the old faithful. Sounded good to me. Making a little noise in the background, but hey, we're gonna let that thing do its work and cool off. Now this was easy because the machine, so the dies on my machine, the little roller wheels, are somewhere in all this heap of stuff. I don't know. So I had the round tube dies on the machine. So with the flat, the dies are like a V shape, so a round tube sets in the little saddle. With this, I was able to run that on the tops of that V shape, so it worked out perfect. That is a different story. It tends to fall to one side or the other, because again, that was 2" the max width. This was bobbling around in the grooves a little, so I may have to clamp and flatten this to the table, but still not a deal breaker. We'll be able to use it. You can see how warped up it is. Once I cut it, we'll be able to just put it to the table, and that's gonna give it its rigidity. So looks a little weird at the moment. Let's follow through. I wouldn't have continued with that roll if I knew, or if I didn't know I could figure it out. Or maybe I would have continued with that roll if I didn't know, because I wouldn't know, and I would just ruin the piece. All that aside, what I'm saying is, I felt that I could work with this imperfect piece. All right. Same as before, let's compare it to this with the lesser of two sides on there. This looks good. Looks good. Yeah, this one's more egg-shaped too, but it's got to get smaller. So let's just cut this off right here. See, that was my educated guess. It'll just lay right in place. Yeah, we'll just put that right down the table. So we'll throw some bars across that and clamp it with the big clamps. So let's put this here. This ring is pretty perfect. Let's just see what this does on top of there. Because, actually that looks, they're both very round. They're like the same. Super neat. All right, that's gonna work. That's gonna work. We want this to be smaller though. Do we? Can we get away with that? Yeah, let's cut off a little bit. If we try to go too small, then we're going to lose the roundness. It's going to start to egg shape it. So let's just take off a little bit. And now we'll use this piece as the little brace, as we did earlier. And then I'm just going to take that ring and bounce it on the ground and try to take a little bit of egg shape out of it. So this is what I was describing. As I pull this together, it's going to make it a little bit oval. So we're going to have to knock it into shape. Got a pretty big gap right here. Let's see what we could do. One thing I'm really looking forward to is getting all these tools clean. Everything is full of sand and grit. All the threads are bunk. Really frustrating getting the shop put together yesterday because there's just dirt coming out of everything. Such a nice clean shop. Oh, you might have noticed I got all my tools together. Hadn't even touched on that. Yeah, I got the big trailer here. Got the workbench. Got the sheet metal brake. Got the saw. Got the English wheel, the drill press, belt sanders, the good sign, and a myriad other bits and baubles. One of them being this cool gear reduction electric motor. So I don't know. What I'm seeing is a bicycle chain. That's what this is set up for. So the old time bikes, before there was chains, there was belt drives. So that is such a big diameter. I'm thinking a chain that went around that entire flat strap. We have to put some leather on it or whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking that that grab will be sufficient enough for this thing, like on a heavy, kind of like a serpentine belt system. You have that idler pulley on the heavy spring. This will just be sprung, putting tension on that chain. That way, it would have a bit of a clutch mechanism if it was to get stuck on something, or this motor will just fail. I don't know how much power it has. That's the experimentation factor. 12 volt DC gear drive, gear reduction motor. I thought I gave it to Erie Eric, but thankfully for this guy, the generosity was not that strong. I gave him one, not two. Look at that thing, laid right on the table. That is what we're looking for. Let me weld this up. All right, now I think just for conversation's sake, we're just gonna stack this on the table in reverse order. So we're gonna build it upside down. That would be this. So those are there. Oh, I see, the little clear things are bolt holes. Okay, some are bolt holes. I think this thing is designed for glass tabletops. All right, so we have 4 dedicated mounting holes. So we're gonna wanna mount this to the flat, or rather to this ring. So let's see, how does this land? No, it's definitely not round. It was round when it was clamped, but we need to, remember I was talking about that? Yeah. You know what? I don't think we're gonna mess with that. I think we're gonna leave it a little bit oval. Doesn't bother me. And it's gonna hang out the back a little bit. And by hanging out the back, that's gonna allow this to weld up a little bit easier. So let's find our bolt holes. It's all part of our day's work. There will be some chaos. So I just put the bolt holes on the edge of the table so that we can get this thing, the oval in the most opportune arrangement. So we're gonna say that is gonna hang out past there, like that. We wanna grab the bolts, definitely. And I'm probably gonna bolt this together first. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's come in just a bit, grab those. Oh, well, let's center this too. I bet we don't have to measure. I bet they measured all these holes for us. Now I'm doing it this way because remember, this tube isn't perfectly flat. It's touching this on edge, which I think is okay. But to make sure we're jiving with the drill, I'm gonna pilot this right through, leave the bit, and then go to the other side. See what I'm saying? That way, with my drill being relatively square, you see, I'm gonna leave that there and bring this hole over to the pilot hole, lunge this one straight in. And you know, I thought it was fitting. I have all that hardware. If you remember the bubble top adventure where I had all this hardware bolting the plastic together, I have a lot of that leftover hardware. Good length, still good stuff. One of those. And now on these other two outer ones, I believe I'm gonna have to drill this. You know what? I'm looking at this and I bet I can hit that hole. I take this and I'm gonna aim right for it. The fates are with us. Let me countersink this one. Now we'll put more bolts in there, but this is a mock-up. Excellent. All right, let me get a 7/16. Now see, we want to be sure that this swivels in the center. It's the primary concern, primary focus of this operation. So let me tighten these up and make sure nothing's binding. In fact, if there's no binding, I'd say that that's a good sign. Okay, feel good. See, we're strengthening up the base of this. I'll go through and I'll probably double that amount of hardware. But let's get to the welding, because that disc is so, the UFO disc is so light right now. I think we'll be able to just work with this as is. Now, when we put this to this ring, these washers and hardwares might be in the way. I might have to do some trimming, but no, we don't have to do no trimming. Look at that, it's perfect. Excellent. You know, let's cut those washers because they are holding it up just a little bit. Washers are galvanized and I just don't want to get involved with welding on any galvanized if I don't have to. All right, I decided to bring a little more close up to the scenario. So the square tube ring is bolted in 3 places at this point. It's bolted to the outside of this bearing. So remember, we're going to mount the plastic dome to the inside. So the satellite dish and everything is bolted out here. Wait, no, it's got to be the other way. No, I want the outer ring. Yeah, no, I want this to be as strong as possible. So the gear drive is going to rotate this. Is that right? So what I'm getting at is if I supported it by the internal one, then all the weight of everything would be riding on these bearings. Trying to eliminate that. But I guess that's the way it's got to be. Yeah, that's just the way it's got to be. We're going to have to make one more ring. Thankfully, I got all this extra material. I hope it doesn't split this bearing. See what I'm saying? We're going to be gripping it. We're going to be lifting the whole thing by this. I imagine, I don't even know how these things are made. I imagine it's just a row of ball bearings. Or are they, let me get my glasses on. Or are they like barrel-shaped bearings, like Timken bearing in there? Like I could see in, or is there a track? And what I'm getting at is I hate to lift this and have this ring just go plop. Then we're just starting from scratch. And I got a whole threatened feeling. Let me wipe the sweat off my brow. The other option is if we flip it this way, this came up and met those pieces. Okay, this still works. I'm just getting confused. Yes. So the entire satellite dish is going to be mounted on this. And that's why we're making this very strong ring setup. And then the bubble's gonna land in here, and the belt drive is gonna operate off of this thing. So this thing needs to be very round, which it is. I might want to put that ring on the underside of this. Will that work? And then this is one of the pitfalls of just winging it. I mean, yes, because if we're mounted in there, and I'm just imagining like an armature coming below this, clearing the belt drive, which would be located somewhere out here, could work. So this is still the rear. I'll explain all this once I understand what I'm building. So pretty much, this is our sprocket. This is our large, so it'll be like a big gear drive, big reduction gear drive. From that motor with the reduction gear to this, it'll probably rotate pretty slowly, but I also think that that's okay because it's such a big diameter. It's kind of like the Earth in its rotation, right? It's spinning very slowly, but it's going thousands of miles an hour on the perimeter. And I don't think that the UFO is going to go thousands of miles on the perimeter, but it may look a little more dramatic. Whew, this will work. Let me grind this off. I almost made a whole thing. As long as everybody's still with me. The thing is, I have to go very strong here because the entire center of the existing satellite dish is going away. It's getting removed. So not only do I have to support this entire thing, I have to create this hub bearing situation. So right there, I just took off some of the interference of the weld. All right. So this will be the sprocket in quotations. And they're centered. And again, it's a very slow moving sprocket. So we're not gonna have to worry about, the chain coming off or anything because it's more of a tension grip. But there probably will have to be some kind of shelf here so that the chain never just slides off. But that's easy to accomplish. That could just be sheet metal, actually. So I'm gonna tack it right there first. Then I'm just gonna kind of stretch it into shape because it is a little bit off. But again, with this idler pulley scenario, actuating it, the motor will just kind of move with the sprocket. So see, we're taking this bearing and we're stacking it. We're making it much more appropriate for this 10-foot diameter appendage it will be attached to. And we don't want to arc through the bearings. So let's set this up here. Yeah, good. So I'm gonna hit it on each side of this hardware. Where are we at? That feels quite low. Let's do that. 18.8. I really feel like I just got heartburn. I got that stressed for a second. This looks good. That looks good. Let's hit this. All right, so that will be very strong. So are we still clear about this? Binding. Okay. So the saucer rib is attached to this. And this is under the surface. They come up top. And now this needs a ring to attach everything to. Wow, this got really heavy. This whole thing just got heavy. That's what we gotta deal with. I don't know about wheelies now. Ooh-wee. I mean, it'll do a wheelie, but when it comes down, it might slam. Okay, so now that we have that, the saucer rings are gonna land on this. They'll be drilled through. And then that's cool because I have steel here. I may need to just put little brackets to further support that. So I'll have something to weld that to, which will be very rigid. Now for this, we're gonna have to roll a ring And what do we want to do that out of? 1 inch or flat bar? We have more. Well, we also have 1.5 inches. All right, so I just did a whole bunch of worrying and considering, fussing, and came up with the only solution to this is to create another ring, a 36-inch diameter ring that will attach to this one, further strengthening this unit. And I guess the way it's going to work is the bubble will sit still on this armature. I mean, it could do one of two things. It could sit still, which might be cool, and then the disc rotates around it. Or in the long run, I could just mount the bubble here and it'll rotate with the saucer. So I think it'd be pretty trick if the center stayed still, because then it's like, wow. I'm going to bend this tube. Follow along, and you'll see me make another imperfect thing. That was really stressful. That was one heck of a pull to do that in the first shot. Usually I graduate from a larger radius to a smaller with multiple passes. But I found as I do that, it increases the wobble in the tool, and it makes that more out of round. So I went for it, I pinched my fingers. I got a bad attitude now. Huffing and puffing, sweating and fussing, but I think we got the right radius. Let's cut this. I think we're gonna test this in the next video. Time is really going on this one. Took obviously 4 times longer than I thought. Not having the right tools to the fresh startup. With the new kit in the workshop, we're gonna attach this and then talk. I'm gonna push this out now. It's kind of the opposite of what we did with the other one. I'm gonna try to maximize this just to see. Now, could I have drawn this out? Could I have CAD designed everything and simply followed the path? Sure could have. Where's the anxiety and fear in that? Where's the fear and loathing in that? So this is inside of that all the way through. Whew, that's what we're looking for. Yeah, let's weld this. Feeling good now. That's what a little fear and loathing does for you. When you come out the good side of that, whole different adrenaline rush. If we knew it would work, then where's the thrill? It's nothing like feeling like you got away with something. All right, things are really stacking up. Literally stacking up. All right, we got a little wiggle jiggle right here, or is it our table? I think it might be our table. This, do that. This table's definitely not as flat as it once was. I think we can live with this. All right, so we got our definite end here. Take our definite end here. And we're gonna set this up. So it's the same flavor, basically. This with the flat spot is inboard. So we can definitely weld to that. Just trying to eyeball the seam here. Let me turn this so that way we have more of a definite. I'm gauging these holes and the seam in the tube, the weld seam. That way we can get all the holes drilled like that's exactly what we need. Perfect. So I'm gonna drill these 4 holes. I look nervous. I'm gonna admit I feel a little nervous. This is getting more heavy and stacked than I ever considered. The good news is it's very strong. The I'm not sure news is if it's too heavy. You know, in the fantasy world, the wheelie-popping trike is just like, you know, like a good pass by a drag racer. I have a feeling with this much weight, the wheelie pop may be a little bit more like this. In all manner of disassemblage on the come down. Are we gonna try it? You know we are. The wheelie pop and drag boat. That's why we don't pop wheelies. Because when that thing came down, I was like, oh, we're gonna break something. Let's not break it. Said it just like that. Oh, we're gonna break something. So, this is one thing we wanna quadruple verify. We're not gonna foul any hardware. Bubble top hardware. The bubble top trike, it's a perfect match. Had a really easy drive this time to California and back. You might wonder why I pronounce it that way. It's because one of my favorite things ever, not political, but just the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor. I don't know why it thrilled me that the Terminator became the governor. But when he spoke, he called it California. Thought that was very regal. Had nothing to do with politics. It's just because he was a Terminator. Governing. It's the Governator. Look at that, it works. Bet you didn't see that coming. I know I didn't. I was thinking about it. I was considering it, but it's working. This, you know, I always joke about my dyslexia. Even though I have not diagnosed, I think the proof is in the pudding. I was thinking of this thing in reverse. So whatever, we made one more hoop. I mean, all in all, it was going to be this heavy, but it's just maybe 2 pounds heavier because of this additional ring. But I think all this adds up to just a lot more strength. A lot more strength. Because now our lovely aluminum bearing is really supported with a lot of steel. Steel we can weld to readily, because we're going to need trusses, mounting points, all the business. Now please just spin and don't bind. Now, if it was to spin that fast, that UFO would be humming right along. So it'll probably be more like this, and a good, even that's fast. Trim off these washers. Let's have a little chat. Call this baby almost a success. Tomorrow we're gonna mount this to the dish. That'll go fast. Mount it to the dish and then put it on the trike. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hammer those over the edge. That's gonna make it even stronger. I thought I was gonna just cut them off, but let's do this. Got a nice grab. Custom. See? Roussel's UFO repair. What will be the slogan for that? You launch them. What rhymes with launch? Haunch? Staunch? I don't know. We got a lot done. Well, we got a little bit done in a lot of time. Now, this ring mounts to the trike. Feeling me? So this is part of the motorcycle. This is holding. The satellite dish is revolving via our large sprocket-esque thing. The motor will be set out here on some kind of a heavy spring tensioner. It's all theory. We did some work. Next time, we're gonna see some results. Yeah. I didn't say enough yeahs in this episode because there was a lot of question marks. But right now, yeah. See you then.